Assalamualaikum viewers and subscribers. I welcome again. Now we'll start doing our podcast every 2 days because a lot of things are happening and things are moving fast. Today we will first discuss in detail Ukraine with a peace plan. It's a very strategic and has tremendous implications for the region, European, Asian region, as well as the world, and how it affects our area. Secondly, I'd like to bring you up to speed on what the Pakistan's fantastic chess game and play game is with Afghanistan. You will really be surprised. And what Iran has done to further hasten American and Israeli response. Okay. Now, with that, also we bring up to speed the Delhi bomb blast. Its connections now go back to Afghanistan. And that's what Indians are saying. And guess what? That connection ricochets through Ankara, Turkey. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. Anyway, so let me get into what's happening with Ukraine. It's important. The Ukraine war ends and the other war starts. Replenishment of Israel and supporting that war. Because remember, America only has 16% of the world's manufacturing capacity. China has over now close to 40%. So let's get into what the peace deal is. Trump administration, especially the military side, as well as Mr. Witkoff, came up with a 28-point plan. And this is something which the US came up with and also basically got some of the input from Russia. And it came with a very implicit threat to Ukraine that you have to accept it by Thursday or they're on their own. US is saying accept this, and Europe and Ukraine, you're on your own, and US knows they won't last more than a few weeks. So that's what's coming. So it's basically shoving down a peace plan down Ukraine's throat. President said earlier that Mrs. Volodymyr Zelensky would have to like the US plan, suggesting he's in no mood to negotiate, saying he's under Thursday to accept. Now let's look at what this peace plan is. It's very important. It de facto basically capitulates to whatever the Russians want. Now, the first part is the draft plan would have Crimea, and I will now show you what that Crimea and the Ukraine maps are. Crimea, it says you should have Crimea, Luhansk, which is up here. Secondly, it says Donetsk, which is right here. And as recognized as de facto Russian territories, Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk. Okay, this is basically not something which the Ukrainians or the Europeans like. The shaded portion you see is where the Russian forces have come how far into Poland. Now, one thing to remember, Poland is about a nation of 40 million, out of which 80% are Ukrainian and 20% are Russian speaking. And most of the Russian speaking are on this side. So basically Luhansk, Donetsk, and Crimea will be recognized as Russian territory. Okay. In this plan, especially Kherson and Zaporizhia will be frozen along the lines of contact as this जहां तक forces आई हैं वहां तक वो freeze हो जाएगा. ये उनको पूरी तरह देना पड़ेगा. This will give completely. Crimea also completely will be recognized as Russian territory. और यहाँ खैरसान और जफर में जिस तरह ये लाइन है उसके लिहाज से ये चलेगा. So it kind of gives you an idea. Basically what it does, it basically gives Russia control over the Russian speaking population. Okay. The other areas which Russia has occupied here or there, they will relinquish control over that. From Donetsk, the Ukrainian troops will withdraw from parts of Donetsk they currently control. This withdrawal will be considered neutral demilitarized zone, internationally recognized territory belonging to the Russian Federation. So basically, Russians are ensuring the Russian-speaking people do not come under the control of Ukraine, because they have been really harsh on these people. The second part, it says that the demilitarized zone, which is created here, Russian forces cannot enter. Okay. Ukraine received some security guarantees by paying USA some money, and I think that was something to be decided between them. अगर रशिया इसको वायलेट करता है तो फिर वो ये जंग फिर शुरू हो जाएगी. Okay. इसमें ये कहते हैं कि if Ukraine lobs a missile at Russia, then all security guarantees provided by states will be null and void. So then Russia is free to pulverize them to extinction. The other part, ये तो हो गया territorial. The other part which requires what do you call commitment from Ukraine that it will not join NATO, and also NATO will not station troops in Ukraine. And if there are any European jets, they will be stationed in Poland. So fundamentally, this becomes Ukraine becomes a buffer state between Russia and Europe. Now, the very aspect that this agreement is being put forward, basically, Europe is considered geopolitically not relevant. In addition to that, some good part of this, all the parties on both sides will receive full amnesty for anything happening in the war. So that means that whatever the International Court of Justice has gotten against Putin will be null and void, and vice versa. This will involve returning all the civilians and detainees and hostages from both sides. Okay. The area of Zaporizhzhia, especially nuclear plant, would be launched under supervision of IAEA, International Atomic Energy Commission, and electricity produced will be distributed evenly between Russia and Ukraine. Ismay is very obvious that if Ukraine rejects the proposal, it would herald an existential separation from US with massive strategic implications for Ukraine and European backers. It would risk US turning its back on the conflict altogether, reneging on pledges of security guarantee for Ukraine, and telling not just Zelensky, but the Europeans also that they are on their own. And Europeans cannot stand against Russia. Off-the-cuff remarks by President Trump are very interesting. He says, Volodymyr Zelensky can continue to fight his little heart out should he refuse the proposed peace plan. So what he's saying, अगर तुमने खुद लड़ना है तो लड़ो, हमारे साथ बात ना करो, हम तुमसे खुदा हाफिज. So basically, it would be a massive blow. Ukrainians cannot hold out. Their desertion rate is 15,000 a month. The people are surrounded, losing probably another 20,000 troops. And I think their ability to stand ground will be zero with no American help coming, especially American intelligence cut off. These guys will be blind. Russians will just clobber them so bad that they will eventually collapse. And I think what the thing which Ukraine is facing, if they don't accept the American present peace plan, what they're going to see is after the conquest of Donetsk, one of these ones, they have a clean line to the capital. So it's quite possible that the Russians will conquer all of and decimate Ukraine. And US is saying, if you do that, Europeans, you're on your own, but the European doesn't have the manufacturing capacity to support a war against Russia. Okay. Currently, what the situation is, Steve Witkoff, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, are in Geneva. US Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll is also arrived there. So in a lot of ways, US military establishment is in there. The US Army Secretary, his name is Daniel Driscoll, and Ukrainian delegation is expected to arrive tonight. And there they're going to have finally. Now, summarizing all that, Kyiv has been given, which is Ukraine, until Thursday to accept the plan, with the possibility of extending deadline to finalize the terms. Maybe the fine print involved. Not that I don't agree, and then no. They have to agree, and then there can be some tweaks. US President has said Ukraine Zelensky can continue to fight his heart out should he refuse the proposed peace plan to settle the conflict. And Russians have said this. Putin, he said, Russian forces will advance if Ukraine rejects Trump's peace plan. That's, in short, the whole thing about Ukraine. So as we had projected, remember, not prophesied, we are not in the prophecy business. We projected all the way in the last few months that Ukraine is going to collapse. And now they're entering that phase. And it will be if they don't accept the peace plan, I don't see Ukraine lasting through December, and definitely not through January or March. So most likely now, the Ukrainians will be forced, and the prudent thing would be to accept this peace plan and get on with life as we know it. Okay, and what I want to do here is now switch to the other portion of our map and say what we're going to discuss is Afghanistan. Okay, now there's a lot of information here, so I will be bringing that up to you. So excuse me if I'm reading, I have to, okay? Where we stand right now, which is not being reported through normal media, Pakistan has sent an ultimatum to Taliban amid shifts in Afghan policy, calling it final message. Pakistan wants Afghan Taliban to meet the security demands or face Islamabad support for rival political groups. That's what I meant, a master chess move. Signaling a major policy shift, Pakistan has made significant shift in its policy towards Afghanistan. In the final message, making it clear the group must either choose a path of reconciliation and comply with Pakistan's security demands. We will later tell you exactly what those ones are. Or face Pakistan's support for political forces capable of challenging the Taliban government. In other words, Pakistan is signaling a direct threat to the political upheaval in Afghanistan to dramatic change. Okay, cutting through all that. Afghans are no more than 16% of the total population. Okay, 16 million out of the 42 million Afghanis who are non-Pashtun Afghans. Out of that, they've alienated the 8 million. So fundamentally, these Taliban only represent 8 million out of, at the most, out of the 42 million Afghanis. So they are not a representative government. And Turkey and other Tajiks and other want to see a representative government, and they want these jokers out. And one of the reasons these jokers have stayed in power is because of Pakistan's support. And fundamentally, they have basically walked away from it. This message of Pakistan was delivered to the Taliban through Turkey for months. And they've been engaging through Turkey talks with Taliban, and they refuse to act against the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. As the border attacks increased, so did Pakistan's tensions. Not only this, these Taliban who say we are Sharia have gone over to Hindu Buddhist India and striking an alliance which is like, reminds me of Mukti Bahini way back in 71. But I think the times have changed and we were a different leadership. And I think it's a bad call on the part of the Taliban. In the shift, now I'll talk about what we have been doing with the alternate democratic and opposition leaders in Afghanistan. And let me tell you exactly who they are. Well, these include former President Hamid Karzai, Ashraf Ghani, National Resistance Front leader Ahmed Bassoud, Abdul Rashid Dostum. This is fundamentally the leader of the previous Northern Alliance. The guys we removed when Faiz Hamid went to drink some tea in Kabul. What Pakistan has offered these leaders is political space, safe presence, and office facilities in Pakistan, Islamabad, and organizing a structured Afghan opposition, which means whatever they do and remove these guys, there will be an election for a representative government in Afghanistan. Reports suggest proposal will be extended to exile Afghan women leaders, activists, democratic groups, reflecting Islamabad's broader strategy to counter Taliban's influence. Now to talk about what exactly Pakistan has told these guys they want. Very interesting. The talks between Pakistan and Taliban stalled after the third round, we know that. Pele Qatar also, then in Turkey. And now we're having some kind of a temporary ceasefire. But here is what Pakistan wants. It's a take it or leave it. And if they don't accept it, regime change. Strict action against the TTP and handing over its militants. What Pakistan is saying, you don't shove these guys across the border armed with militants and rockets. You hand them over properly at the border like criminals. No shoving across the border. Shoving across the border would be met with force. They'll be bombed, they'll dull daylights out of them. Guarantee of peace along the Durand line, no more bakwas around that Durand line border. Creation of a buffer zone along the border on the Afghanistan side. And then we will normalize trade and cooperation. In Turkey, the Taliban refused to comply, especially regarding the TTP fighters and establishing a buffer zone. Well, Pakistan says these are the minimum requirements for security. So that's where we are right now. Frustrated, Pakistan has made final offer, same one, on reconciled terms or face regime change campaign. And Pakistan has reached out to the Taliban opponents to support a potential campaign. And I think it will take just a matter of time for it to come to fruition. Now we talk about Indian Delhi bomb blast. The guy was trained, some of them got the information handled through Afghanistan and Turkey. So I think there's a lot of people in India who's really double-minded. Okay. Now I'll talk a little bit more about Iran. Iran has withdrawn from the agreement which allowed the IAEA to do inspection. This is a very bad move. It was made just after International Atomic Energy Commission demanded a full accounting of enriched uranium stock and the conditions of the facility struck during Israeli-American air raids. Just reminding, Iran said, we don't even have 400 kilograms, we have 450 kilograms, but we don't know where they are. And Mossad said, we know where they are, don't worry. You do anything with it, we'll come and see you, say hello, hi. And these are 60% rich, very close to weapons grade. Believed for several, about 6 to 8 bombs. Will the Americans allow Iranians to keep it and start the enrichment facility? No. When Irans are also threatening that they have ICBMs, so I think they will cut it off very early. And secondly, Iranians have come up with more bravado. Iranian plans to throw as much as 2,000 missiles simultaneously right off the bat. In the last conflict, they fired 500, one at a time, 2 at a time, 10 at a time, 15 at a time. In this one, they're actually threatening to overwhelm Israel's air defenses and demonstrate Iran being capable of powerful retaliation. So I think they played their last card, Iranians. And I don't think this is going to deter the Americans or the Israelis. Now, one thing other interesting from Iran intelligence minister, he said that their enemies, which is Israel, is seeking to target the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. And they're hoping they will not attempt to incite another wave of unrest in the country. Ismail Khatib described Khomeini as a pillar and axis of Islamic Republic, and that is why the enemy tries to target the leadership through assassination. It's the old octopus doctrine. Israelis, they go after the leaders, then they go after the mid-scale, and then they start with special operations, and which I think they'll do this time after the bombing campaign, which will last weeks and weeks, probably a few months. So I think I brought you up to speed, and I promise that we will be doing this more often than every 2 days. So the next one will be the 25th. And in that one, we will talk about the armaments Pakistan is getting and how that affects our defense. With that, I'd like to bring our esteemed host, Cher Bano. Welcome, Cher Bano. How are you?
Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah, I'm great. How about you?
Allah ka shukr, nice to see you again.
Same here. So that was really nice information. So let's coming towards the questions. You have covered the Ukraine, NATO, and Crimea recognition topic earlier in your podcast. So can you tell that is that Trump's 28 points Ukraine peace proposal a bold path to peace or a strategic surrender to Russians' demand that could redefine global norms or territorial integrity?
I think what it is American recognition that if they don't give a peace plan right now, Ukraine may be left off the map. Okay? Because if the Russians continue the present offensive, they will overwhelm Ukraine. Their army is going to collapse, and Russia will walk through Ukraine completely. So here Trump is, in a sense, doing a favor to Ukraine in saving what they have and giving Russians basically what they want, that the Russian-speaking people are not discriminated against. And Russia has the territories it needs to maintain, not get threatened by Ukraine, like not joining NATO and the rest. You see, Ukrainians were so fascist with Russian-speaking people that it's illegal for their Russian Orthodox Church to operate, which is 80% of the population believes the Russian Orthodox Church. And they banned and nobody can speak inside the territory a Russian language. I mean, here's a wife, here's a husband, they're both Russian, they can't speak in Russian. It's just like being in Punjab. I can't speak to my wife in Punjabi or Urdu. So, I mean, ludicrous. So, I think they recognize that. But fundamentally, from a European standpoint, complete capitulation and total surrender. So, what that also point is Europeans are geopolitical geopolitically irrelevant. Now, on the same topic,
Mhm.
somebody else has become less relevant also after the Indian Air Force light combat aircraft crashed
Exactly.
in Dubai Air Show. Nobody wants
Mhm.
to buy flying.
Definitely. Definitely.
People have walked away from the
Exactly.
flying doctor. So,
No doubt.
yeah,
So, coming towards the latest moves about Pakistan now openly threatening the Taliban and engaging opposition figures, are we witnessing the beginning of a new proxy war in Afghanistan? This time, Islamabad at the center.
I think you probably won't see a proxy war. What you will see is a momentum where these guys start working
Mm-hmm.
inside uh, Afghanistan. And this may even include Pakistani forces going across the border to beat the shit out of these guys. So you'll definitely see use of Pakistani air power and the other guys coming in. And I want to bring up again, Trump said bad things are happen if you don't give me Bagram Air Base. He didn't intend to
Mm-hmm.
get the Bagram Air
You
Base,
talked
but he
about
got
it.
things. So
Mm-hmm.
people make an argument America ke liye kar rahe. No. It's in our interest. We are doing it. And we are lucky we are supported by America and China and Turkey
All right.
and Asian
Mm.
states. All
Def-
you can see, you know. ये आपको मैं देता हूँ
Uh,
ये सब स्टेट्स
mhm.
कहते हैं क्या वो ने ये है ये है सेंट्रल एशियन स्टेट्स ऊपर
Mhm.
ग्रीन में and
All right.
Turkmenistan.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
all right.
All
So
right.
just for
Do you think that the Taliban's growing closeness with the India reshape the South Asian geopolitics and force Pakistan into a two-front strategic realignment?
I take a look at Afghanistan. Okay, I'll just go on that side.
Mhm. Sure.
You see the map of Afghanistan. Now tell me, how does Afghanistan wants to do air cargo? No, जाहिलों के सर पे सींग नहीं होते. एयर कार्गो अफगानिस्तान से इंडिया किस तरह पहुंचेगा? How will it reach?
No.
It'll go all the way
Mhm.
down to the South Pole and then come up north to India, or will it go all the way up through Turkey over the North Pole, go around the whole Pacific Ocean, and then
No.
come to India? They're smoking
Mm.
dope. I think उन्होंने अपनी वो हशीश पीनी शुरू की है और दिमाग खराब हो गया. It's all, there's no logic to it. You got to look at the geography, and it's just not feasible. Now, one thing they can do is create a second front and become a nuisance while India is coming towards our side. So we have to move first before India gets ready by March, April. So that's
Yeah, I
one thing.
got that point.
Very, very careful about that. And
Mhm.
all its hardware and everything will come fruition by about end of March or end of April. That's when they will have
Okay.
the nerve to come at us again.
All right. So, do you think we are entering a new era of Cold War, regional conflicts where peace deals are pressurizing, alliances are transactional, and great powers play chess across collapsing states? What do you comment about that?
I think you got to look at the Europeans being cut out of this game. So what you have
Mm-hmm.
got Russia, China, and America. America will have a transactional relationship. But remember one thing, if we are winning, they'll be with us. If India starts to win, they'll be sitting with India. So the only ones who are going to be with us are going to be Chinese and Turkey.
Okay. Mm.
Everybody else will switch sides the minute they see us weaker. Okay. So we
All
got to
right.
strong, and then I think they'll be with us. But transactional
Uh,
Cold War, I don't think America is ready for a Cold War with China. I think they will lay low
mhm.
for a few. So
All right. So that wraps up our philosophical debate, tying all the theaters together: Ukraine, Afghanistan, Iran, India. And thanks for shedding light on them. All yours.
very much. And the next podcast is the 25th of November at 9
Yeah,
p.m.
exactly.
And we'll deal with the weapons between India and Pakistan and how we've learned the lessons from the last 4-day war and what exactly
Mhm.
are we up to. Okay.
All right.
Any pleasure.
Thank you so
See you on the 25th. Thank you. Bye.
much. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.